Have you ever been told you're being replaced by someone who's never worked a real job? That's how I found out my boss was handing my department to her niece. I smiled, nodded, and started digging their professional graves. My name's Marcus. I'd been the design manager at our Chicago firm for almost 5 years. I wasn't flashy, I just got shit done. My only mistake? Thinking loyalty actually meant something to people like Dana. It all started with Claire's appearance. Dana invited her to one of our Friday stand-ups. She's just shadowing, she said. Wants to get a feel for our operations. Claire was maybe 24, fresh out of a marketing degree, and already giving off serious nepotism perfume. Blonde, overdressed, and glued to her phone like she was waiting for TMZ to cover her. First meeting, she said, "We should rebrand to something more like, I don't know, vibey?" I thought it was a joke. Then she kept showing up. By week 3, Claire was suddenly included in client brainstorms, taking creative lead on things she didn't understand, and trying to explain to a 20-year veteran why Helvetica is kind of basic. I asked Dana privately if we had a plan for this arrangement. She smiled like I'd asked her if birds were real. Claire just has this vision, Marcus. Try to meet her halfway. But I bit my tongue, because I'm not a dumbass. I'd seen people who push too hard get iced out with performance flags or quiet reassignments. So I played along, for a while, until Dana called a quick sync on a Monday morning and sat me down with HR. According to Dana, my leadership trajectory had slowed, my energy didn't match our evolving brand, and Claire had demonstrated a surprising natural ability for vision alignment. I nearly laughed, because I could see what this was. Not incompetence, politics. I was being replaced. The cherry on top. They offered to transition me into a more focused strategic role. Translation: less pay, no team, no authority. And I'd be expected to train Claire for a month to ensure continuity. She even had the balls to wink at me in the hallway afterward, like we were co-conspirators in some girl boss startup. I didn't flip the table. I didn't call anyone out. I just said, "Of course." Walked out with my coffee, sat back at my desk, and opened a new folder on my desktop. I labeled it Insurance for Later. The first month of Claire's reign was chaos in beige business casual. She started off with a bang, literally, by changing our Slack theme to pink and gold and announcing we'd be pivoting to a creator-first strategy. Whatever the hell that meant. Her first pitch? A $12,000 campaign to send branded mugs to influencers with niche audiences. Niche meaning, she followed them on TikTok. We were a B2B design firm for mid-tier insurance clients. Not exactly a hot topic on the For You page. But Claire was confident. She said, "Community buzz." Enough times in the meeting that Dana nodded along like a bobblehead, pretending she wasn't just greenlighting this because her niece asked nicely. I was still technically employed, just repositioned. So I attended meetings, stayed quiet, and took notes. Publicly, I looked like I was in vacation mode. But behind the scenes, I was recording every idiotic thing Claire did, like it was a nature documentary. My favorite moment was when Claire pitched a brand refresh that involved redoing our entire website, using a third-party site builder that didn't support accessibility standards. You know, the legal ones. She even used her own Instagram color palette as the base, pastel vomit over white. I watched our UI designer visibly wince during the presentation, and she still went forward with it. 2 weeks later, we got flagged by a government contractor for ADA noncompliance. Claire called it feedback from the disabled community. Dana swept it under the rug naturally. "We're in beta," she told the board, which was funny because we were a 5-year-old company, not a tech app. It was around then that Claire had to present her first quarterly report to upper management. I was fully prepared for a mess, but what she actually delivered was surreal. She read from a printed document like it were a high school book report. Halfway through, she said, and I quote, "As an AI language model, I do not have personal experiences." I nearly choked. She hadn't even read the whole thing. She had literally copied and pasted her Q1 summary from ChatGPT and forgot to delete the damn disclaimer. Dana nodded through it like she was hearing gospel. No one else said a word. A couple of the younger execs glanced at each other, but everyone was too chicken to push back. That's when I realized something. Claire wasn't just dumb. She was dangerous. Because Dana was going to keep shielding her, no matter what. And the more they tanked the department, the easier it would be to show Leonard, our elusive CEO, what was really happening. So I made a new rule for myself. Don't interfere. Just observe. Let the fire spread. And document the matches. The next disaster came when Claire gave a live interview for an industry blog. She didn't prep, didn't research, didn't even know what questions they were sending. 1 minute in, she quoted a viral metric about 93% of clients preferring beige tones in crisis branding, which sounded fake, because it was. She'd pulled it from a parody design satire site. The article title was literally 10 bullshit stats to impress your boss. She didn't get it. She thought it was real. And the interview went out live on LinkedIn and the company newsletter. I saved the link, archived the transcript, even screenshotted the moment when the host paused, blinked, and said, "Interesting take." Meanwhile, Dana doubled down, told the team Claire was still learning and bringing fresh creative disruption. She started calling her the Creative Innovation Lead, which wasn't a real title but looked shiny on the org chart. To make room for Claire's ideas, Dana scrapped half the working systems I'd spent years building. Our automated report pipelines? Gone. Our internal asset library? Replaced with Claire's Dropbox folders labeled cool stuff and assets maybe. And when our biggest client, a multimillion-dollar financial services group, asked why deliverables were delayed by 2 weeks, Claire told them we were shifting into a narrative-driven cadence. They dropped us. Dana didn't care. Or she pretended not to. She said it was time to focus on creative evolution. Meanwhile, I kept uploading receipts into my folder. By the end of the quarter, department revenue had dropped 27%. And nobody in leadership seemed to be tracking it except one person. Leonard, the ghost CEO. He hadn't said a word, but I noticed he was showing up in shared docs more often. Quietly watching, clicking view on campaign files, adding timestamps to dashboards, checking financial summaries. That's when I knew he saw it, or at least suspected something. So I kept feeding the fire and waited for the smoke to rise high enough. The influencer mug circus was barely cooling off when Dana decided it was time to expand external relationships. Translation. She started vanishing for what she called client development travel. First it was Aspen, then Cabo, then Tulum. Each time, she'd send a generic all-staff email with some stock photo of a latte and a meeting clients today. Wish me luck. Caption. She never named the clients, never added anything to the CRM, and somehow always came back looking suspiciously tanned and unbothered. At first, I figured she was just coasting while Claire fumbled through her fake reports. But then Sasha, one of the finance analysts, pinged me privately and asked, "Hey, do you know who Northwell Strategic Partners is?" I didn't. Neither did anyone else. Because it wasn't real. Turns out Dana had booked an entire 5-day resort trip in Mexico under a business development justification tied to this made-up consulting firm. Flights, hotel, meals, spa package, all billed to the company card. Sasha flagged it to her supervisor, who conveniently didn't want to make waves. That's code for, Dana has dirt or political leverage, so let it go. Sasha, to her credit, saved every email, every charge. She forwarded them to me with the message, just in case this all goes somewhere. I hate that she's getting away with it. I added it all to my folder. Then I looked back at the other client trips. One of them was to Aspen, supposedly for a UX retreat. Except the only event happening that weekend was a wine and cheese festival. I cross-referenced hotel bookings with internal project logs. 0 deliverables came out of that trip. No new leads, no meetings, not even a goddamn email thread. It wasn't just bad leadership. It was embezzlement. And meanwhile, Claire was still out here leading her AI-powered circus. She just wrapped another quarter of performance metrics, which included literally photoshopped engagement graphs. One of the lines went backward. She claimed that it was a visual metaphor for unpredictable growth. I watched her present that to Dana, and Dana bought it, like she was watching the second coming of Steve Jobs, if Steve Jobs thought Canva was the peak of design innovation. At this point, I wasn't even angry. I was fascinated, like watching a tiger wear lipstick and try to do taxes. The turning point came when one of our longtime clients, a logistics tech firm, pulled out of their annual contract renewal. Their feedback? We're concerned about the leadership shift and unclear direction. They didn't even bother with fake politeness. just bounced. Leonard definitely saw that. The CEO may have been hands-off, but he wasn't blind. He had access to every dashboard, every drop in retention, every downward trend line. The company wasn't massive, 80-ish employees total, and my department used to be one of its most stable pillars. Now it looked like a toddler had taken over the wheel. A very loud, clueless toddler in heels. That same week, Leonard made his move subtle, surgical, and terrifying. He called me in for a one-on-one. No agenda. No warning. His office was exactly how I remembered it. Quiet, airless, and full of old campaign mock-ups from years past. He didn't offer small talk. Just sat me down, folded his hands, and said, "Walk me through what happened to your department." No editorializing. Just the data. So I did. I gave him the numbers, the 27% revenue drop, the compliance violations, the lost clients, the inconsistent campaign timelines, the fake stats, the copied AI reports, the ADA lawsuit risk, the fake Northwell travel invoice, the parody blog quotes. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he nodded once and said, "I appreciate your restraint." Then he stood, opened the door, and told me I could go. That was it. No dramatic reveal. No slammed folders. Just a cold, calculated listening session from someone who'd clearly already seen enough. 3 days later, the company announced a new internal initiative, the Division of Operational Integrity, a compliance and oversight arm to ensure creative quality, financial accountability, and long-term client trust. And guess who got tapped to lead it? Me, Director of Oversight, reporting directly to Leonard. My new role came with an office, a pay bump, full cross-departmental visibility, and, most importantly, approval control over every project coming out of design and marketing. I didn't have to fire Dana. I just outranked her. And now she'd need my signature to push anything through the pipeline. Claire? She was already spiraling. Her metrics were being independently reviewed. Her reports had to go through compliance sign-off. Her fake performance graphs had been flagged as inconsistent with server-side analytics. The panic in their eyes at the announcement meeting? Pure art. I just sipped my coffee and nodded through the round of awkward applause. When Leonard tapped me to lead the new division of operational integrity, I knew the real game was just beginning. I had the title, the org chart power, and the CEO's silent backing, but the challenge was turning that authority into real leverage. So I spent my first week redesigning approval workflows and retraining the team, quietly, surgically, without fanfare. I didn't storm into Dana's office screaming. Instead, I sent a calendar invite labeled Weekly Creative Sync. Everyone was required to attend, including Dana and Claire. The agenda looked innocuous. Budget review, project timelines, compliance checklist. But buried in every slide deck was a new approval step, operational integrity sign-off. No exceptions. The first meeting meandered through routine updates until Claire pitched her newest stunt. A midnight live stream with influencers discussing brand authenticity. I leaned back and said, "Sounds promising. Let's run it through integrity guidelines." Claire blinked. What guidelines?" I smiled. "The ones in your inbox." She hadn't bothered to open the memo I'd sent 2 days earlier. While Claire stammered, Dana shot me a death glare over the conference table drinks. I let it ride. The rest of the team exchanged relieved glances. Finally, someone was applying rules evenly. Over the next sessions, Claire's ideas collapsed like cheap cardboard. She tried to fast-track a paid partnership without a signed contract. Compliance flagged it. She planned a viral TikTok takeover that inadvertently violated music licensing. Legal team refused. She proposed repurposing client data for an interactive infographic. Privacy flagged a breach risk. Each time, I gently redirected her. "Great ambition, Claire. Let's refine the roadmap to fit policy." Her confidence cracked faster than her shaky Wi-Fi stream. Meanwhile, Dana launched her own covert counterattack. She began sending me end-of-day status emails. Each email praised Claire's fresh vision and subtly undermined the new workflow. It was classic passive aggression. "Marcus's process is slowing us down, but we're managing." I caught wind when Sasha forwarded me one such email with the note, "Is this normal?" I replied, "Just wait for tomorrow's sync." Sure enough, Dana rolled in bright and early with printed graphs showing last quarter's improved social engagement. Charts she'd cobbled together from raw data without context. She laid them out like evidence of her own genius. Claire beamed. The rest of the room looked confused. That was my cue. I tapped my tablet, projected the live analytics dashboard to the screen, and walked everyone through the real numbers. Engagement had spiked for one day, her highlights reel, then flatlined. Meanwhile, site visits had dipped 15% after her viral post. Dana's face fell. Claire's cheeks burned red. I didn't say, "Told you so." I just said, "Data is data." From that moment, Dana stopped hiding her memos. She tried another angle, looping HR into petty complaints about me, overstepping and micromanaging. HR politely reminded her that new processes were company policy. Claire, now terrified of another public failure, started doing what she should have done months ago, asking for help. She sent one-on-one chat requests, awkwardly phrased, "Marcus, do you have a minute to go over campaign guidelines?" I accepted every request. I walked her through budget templates, compliance checklists, and client approval forms. I answered each question like a teacher grading a term paper. Meanwhile, I quietly promoted Sasha to compliance coordinator so that Dana could no longer bypass finance approvals. Sasha now sat in every meeting, nodding solemnly. Dana tried to argue for expedited review on her next trip, but Sasha responded with a list of missing receipts, client contacts, and signed NDAs. I felt the shift in the air. The team's shoulders relaxed. They weren't worried about being collateral damage in nepotism. They were back to caring about real work again. But I wasn't done. I needed the final nail. So I arranged a cross-department showcase. Every team to present one major project in 15 minutes. Claire went first with her influencer mugs concept, complete with prototype samples. She set them on the table like trophies. Dana introduced it with a flourish. Everyone watched as Claire fumbled the prototype out of its mug box, sending half of them crashing to the floor. She blurted, "They're fragile, but they're personalized, so it's cute." I let that sink in, then called Sasha to present. Sasha walked up with a single slide. Our original project from 6 months ago, delivered on time, under budget, and in full compliance. She spoke for 2 minutes, answered one question, and sat down. The applause was polite at first, then real. People were clapping for competence. Dana's cheeks drained of color. Claire's face was a mix of embarrassment and terror. I closed the showcase by thanking everyone for their transparent work and reminding them that consistency is the real innovation. No swagger, no gloating, just a simple statement. That was the moment I knew the shift was complete. Dana and Claire still held their titles, but they'd lost their power. Every idea they pitched now came with a silent caveat. Let's see what integrity says. And integrity, under my watch, always said no to half-baked bullshit. As the meeting broke, I caught Dana's eye. She didn't look angry so much as resigned. Claire avoided my gaze entirely. The rest of the team smiled and whispered, "Thank you," as they filed out. And me? I closed my laptop, straightened my jacket, and felt a wave of satisfaction. Not because I'd fired anyone, because I'd rebuilt the department stronger, fairer, and ready to do real work again. I started the week by rearranging desks. Nothing dramatic, just sliding Claire's station to the corner, right next to the supply closet. It wasn't a demotion. It was a statement. Every time she booted up her iPad, she'd catch a glimpse of printer toner and paper clips. The message was clear: you're not part of the inner circle. Monday's stand-up was different. Instead of broadcasting through a screen, we stood in a circle and each person shared one metric they were proud of. No voice of the niece. No fake hype. When it came to Claire, she mumbled something about synergistic deliverables and went silent. The room moved on without missing a beat. Meanwhile, Dana circled back with her usual passive-aggressive charm. She emailed me a half-hearted congratulations on my new process, then asked if we could sync offline about next quarter's goals. I replied, "Let's catch up Wednesday at 3, and never scheduled it. Her calendar pinged with a placeholder invite and then went dark. I never confirmed. Classic ghost move, but with corporate polish. Claire tried to get my attention next. She dropped by my office for a quick question about campaign reach. I was buried in a budget reconciliation report, so I said, "Can't talk now. Got a deadline." She lingered in the doorway, hopeful, but I didn't spare her a glance. She shuffled away after 10 seconds, shoulders slumped. By midweek, the team had started referring to the old guard in hushed tones. like they were relics in a museum. Projects flew through the pipeline. Compliance checks, client approvals, time tracking updates, all efficient, all predictable. No drama. No nepotism. No shady travel reimbursements. Just work. In one meeting, I presented a roadmap for the next quarter. Instead of inviting Dana or Claire up front, I asked Sasha to co-present. Sasha laid out roles, deadlines, and resource allocations. Claire tried to interject with some influencer synergy jargon, but Sasha cut her off politely. We'll incorporate that later if it aligns with compliance. Claire sank back, and Dana didn't even bother to jump in. After the meeting, I swung by Dana's office to finalize a project budget. She wasn't there again. So I tapped a note under the door. Budget locked until your feedback by Friday noon. No email, no follow-up. By Friday afternoon, I'd automatically advanced the budget to the next stage. When Dana logged in on Monday, she saw her own project moving forward without her input. She shot me a one-line email. Uncool. I read it, archived it, and moved on. Claire's exit was almost anticlimactic. She sent a group chat message late Thursday, planning to explore new opportunities. My last day will be next Wednesday. Thanks all. The team responded with brief well wishes and a gif of a door closing. Nobody volunteered to help pack her boxes. She quietly deleted her Slack account and left. Now it was just Dana and me. In theory, she still had authority over her own projects. In practice, every proposal she typed up got routed through my oversight queue. By week's end, her pending requests outnumbered her approved ones 3-1. She emailed HR to ask if this was normal. HR forwarded it to me with a note. Can you clarify? I wrote back, this is the new standard process, and copied Leonard. HR replied, glad it's working. The final piece of petty art was a team lunch Dana tried to organize on Friday. She booked a crowded bistro, picked a menu with 6-course tasting menus, and invited the entire exec team. I sent a quick reply, thanks, but I won't be able to attend. No one else responded. The restaurant called her on Saturday. We need a head count. She texted me, thought you said maybe. I left it on read. She ate alone. When Monday hit, Dana's desk was empty. She'd taken a week of personal leave, she told HR. I suspected she was interviewing elsewhere, desperate to escape the oversight prison she'd helped create. HR asked if she'd return to her old role. I said, let's leave the position open until after her leave. No rush. That afternoon, I convened a meeting and told the team, we're promoting internally. Everyone knew why. Sasha got the nod for compliance manager. Jess from design moved into Dana's old spot, and I assigned a junior strategist to Claire's former responsibilities. We ended with a round of applause, not for me, but for the team. They'd weathered the storm. They'd watched nepotism crash and burn. Now they were running the department with competence and camaraderie. I closed the meeting by saying, this is what real teamwork looks like.